everyone, I'm Yasmin. I'm gonna be doing a food video with you. The director is my partner Alan, so if the video is shaky, not my fault. So I've been asked to do some cooking videos for you about cakes and recipes that mean a lot to me. And I thought, as the first video, I could do a video of my first food memory. So this is really a memory that stems whenever I think about my grandma. My grandma was a really big influence on me and my siblings' life when we were little. Our parents used to work in a restaurant, and so we used to spend a lot of time together with grandma, and grandma used to love cooking. I actually went through all of my old pictures, and I found a really, really beautiful one. And so you can see here, I've got me here, my sister, my brother, my grandma here, and my uncle. That's a picture of my brother's first birthday at our parents' restaurant, so I thought that was perfect for the recipe that we're gonna be doing today. So the recipe today is fresh pasta with some crab stuffing. Originally, I'm from Italy. You can probably guess from the accent. I've lived here for about 20 years now, but the first few good food memories really are Italian, so I thought of starting from the first one, and pasta is definitely one of them. Pasta is basically a staple food in Italy. We really eat it with anything and everything, so I thought it was a nice point to start from. So fresh pasta, really straightforward recipe, really easy to remember as well. You need 100 grams of flour per 1 egg. So today we're going to be making plenty of pasta because we're quite greedy in our household. We've got 300 grams of flour to 3 eggs. So you just pop the eggs straight in the flour. Just a little bit of olive oil, not too much. And then you can start with a fork, incorporating all of the eggs in the flour. And then as soon as it starts getting a little bit stiff, you can put your hands in and start working the dough with your hands. But at the start, it's just a fork will do the trick nicely, and you don't get too messy either. So you just mix all of the ingredients together and wait until it starts forming a bit of a dough. Most of the times you don't need to add water, but it looks really quite dry right now. So we might add a little bit. Let me see how it is. I put my hands in and start working it. It is quite a hard dough to start with. It will relax as soon as we finish it and letting it rest in the fridge. Actually, it doesn't need any water. You can see how it's coming together all nicely. It is quite a hard dough. It doesn't look like it's gonna roll really nicely, but it will as soon as it starts to relax. Lovely. So a little bit more to incorporate all the parts of the pasta. You've probably noticed that I didn't put any salt in. You should really never salt eggs. You can put salt on the eggs at the end of the cooking, but you should never really salt them beforehand. And it's the same with pasta dough as well, because it just loses color, and there's no real need because you're gonna salt the water when you cook the pasta, so there's no point in actually salting the dough itself. So a little bit more, and then get some cling film ready. As you can see, all of the dough is completely incorporated, and then you put the pasta on the cling film, cover it up, and then you can put it in the fridge to rest. Whilst we wait for the pasta to rest, we can make the stuffing. So we are going to be making some crab ravioli. These are all of the ingredients for this stuffing. It doesn't look like a lot in comparison to the amount of pasta that we made earlier, but we did make a lot of pasta. So I'm only going to use half for the ravioli, and then I'm going to cut the rest for some tagliatelle. So for this stuffing, I've got here a couple of tablespoons of ricotta cheese, 100 grams of crab meat, a little bit of parsley, you don't want a lot, a little bit of lemon zest, and salt and pepper. You don't want a lot of the ingredients to actually overwhelm the flavor of the crab. The crab is quite a lovely, delicate flavor. So you just want ingredients to enhance it instead of covering it up, and that's why I've picked really, really delicate ingredients. So all you have to do is mix all of the ingredients together whilst we wait for the pasta. The pasta will need about 30 minutes in the fridge to relax, just because flour does contain gluten, which is a protein. And when you work it, the gluten molecules come together and it makes it quite tough. So you just want it to rest for a little bit, for it to relax a little bit, and it's easier for you to actually work with it later. So everything is mixed together. I'm gonna try it. Always test. I'm really happy with all of the flavors. You get the lemons, you get the parsley, but most importantly, you get the crab. So all of the ingredients together, we're gonna put them in a piping bag. Teaspoon to clean them. All of the ingredients go in there, and then take the piping bag out. You close it, and this can go in the fridge until we're ready to use it. Okay, so now we can start rolling the pasta. I'm gonna open it up so you can see the difference. So you can see how it's become a completely different color. It's a lot more rested as well, so we can start rolling it out. To roll out pasta, we've got this pasta machine. It's a pretty straightforward instrument. You hold it down with this clamp, and then we've got these two rollers here. And all you have to do is change the number here to make it thinner or thicker. So we'll start on the thickest number, number 6. All we have to do is just chop the pasta off. Push it down just to make it easier for the machine to pick it up. And put the pasta through the machine like this, and with the lever goes through a little bit at a time. Pick it up from the bottom. You want it to make it really quite smooth, so you might have to go through the machine quite a few times. So you fold it over. Make sure that the pasta machine stays in place. So you can see how it's getting smoother and smoother with less bits and bobs sticking out. So we'll go one more time. And when you can see it's all lovely and smooth, maybe once more, just in case. Perfect. So you can see lovely and smooth. We'll put some flour onto it. And then some flour on the side, and then we'll leave it to rest whilst we roll the other pieces. So I was thinking of doing pasta as the first recipe, just because with grandma, it really is the first food memory that I've got of her, just remembering, just covering her kitchen table with just pasta made fresh each week. And it kind of makes sense because fresh pasta, you can definitely eat it straight away, or you can dry it and have it for the rest of the week. It is made with fresh eggs, so I wouldn't recommend keeping it longer than that. But yeah, we used to cook a lot. She used to come from farming background, so everything she used to make was from scratch, and that's really the kind of food that I love making and I love eating as well. And whenever I go to restaurants, you can definitely ask my partner. I'm really quite fussy. I always go for like fresh food restaurants and making sure that all of the recipes are lovely and made from fresh ingredients. So we'll go through this one more time. We'll leave it as that, lovely and smooth. Little bit of flour, little bit of flour. As I've mentioned before, our parents used to own a restaurant, so I really have grown up with food, so much so that I've decided to make it into a living. I trained as a pastry chef about 5 years ago now, and I've worked as cook and baker since then. Really, at the moment, I'm working as a chocolatier, which makes me really happy. I mean, who doesn't like chocolate? But that doesn't really stop me from baking at home, really. And I thoroughly enjoy baking and experimenting with loads of different foods. Like, yes, I'm originally from Italy, but I have grown up here in England, and we really eat food from all sorts of countries in the world. We eat plenty of Italian food, we eat plenty of English food, but we also experiment a little bit, and why not try all sorts of foods from all around the world? But yeah, cakes and pastry is definitely what makes me the happiest. So a little bit of flour here, a little bit of flour here, and on to the last bit. Lovely. Our parents' restaurant used to be, it was a little bit of a fusion restaurant, really. So it was an Italian-Egyptian restaurant because my father is Egyptian. But he used to specialize in pizza as well. So we used to have pizza there all the time. We used to spend our weekends together there at the restaurant. And I do remember my uncle making us pizza in all sorts of shapes. So we would ask him what shape we wanted the pizza, and he would make it. And he was so talented. He would make us pizza in all sorts of shapes. And sometimes we used to be quite awkward and ask him to make us pizza in like a giraffe shape or a cat shape. And he used to do it for us. And it was lovely. And that's another lovely memory that I have of food. And in all fairness, I can do a pizza video for next time. But now on to pasta. So you can see how it's getting smoother and smoother every turn. We'll fold it a little bit more. And it's looking quite good, so we can leave it on the side. Again, flour on one side, flour on the other side, and then we can pick up the first bit, and then we can go on to maybe number 4 to start. We can start thinning it out a little bit, so we can start putting the pasta through here and pick it up from the side, and you can see how much smoother the pasta is. It's lovely and smooth. We'll do the next one. Pick it up from the bottom, and you can start to see how much longer the bits are becoming by just rolling it so much thinner. And with this recipe, you can really do anything at all. You can make pasta for anything. You can make stuffed pasta like we're going to be making later, or you can just cut it into big rectangles and use it for lasagna sheets, or you can just cut it into tagliatelle and spaghetti. And for that I have this tool here, so you can see like nice thick cutters on here and nice thin cutters on here. It just has the holes here for the lever, so you can just roll it and cut it, but we can go through that in a bit. So now we can go on to maybe number 2, and that's where the pasta will start getting really long, so it would be a good idea to start cutting it, otherwise I'm gonna have some trouble handling it. So I'll cut here, and then we can start making it really, really thin. Okay, so I've got one long sheet here. Started to get a little bit messy, so I'm gonna fold it a bit, and then I'm gonna pass it again. Do it just a single fold and then pass it again. Lovely. And then we can keep going with the other ones. So for the tagliatelle, we're gonna keep it on number 2 because it's the perfect thickness for them. But for the ravioli, because it will be folded, we need to go on number 1. So we'll go on number 2 on all of them. And then once the tagliatelle pasta is resting, oops, and just like that, we can thin out the other ones on number 1. Just a few more to go. Two more sheets to go. And that's the last one. So we'll leave 4 of these sheets here on the side to rest just for the tagliatelle. We need to make sure that there's plenty of flour on them, otherwise they will stick together and it's going to be really hard for us to work with them later. So we put the flour. And the other 4 we can thin out to number 1. So we'll go on the lever, nice and thin, and that's where we can start rolling the pasta. It doesn't matter if it catches here a bit because it's gonna be lovely and smooth at the other side. There we go, lovely and thin, and you can see how long it's actually getting now. Okay, and you can keep just rolling the pasta you can see how thin it's getting. It's getting really, really thin. You can see light through it. We only have 2 pieces to go, so not very long, not very much at all. Try and pick it up from there. Lovely. I need to make sure that there's plenty of flour on them. Last thing we want is for them to get stuck together. And last one here. Perfect. Now we are gonna be filling the pasta. You can do it both in 2 different ways. You can use some cutters, cut the pasta, fill it and then fold it, which is what we're gonna be doing now. Or you can just put the filling on the pasta, cover it with another sheet and then you can cut it. And that's technically a ravioli. But I find that the tortellini is just so much more beautiful, so we're gonna do it that way. So we're gonna start by cutting the pasta into discs and then we're gonna be filling all of the discs. So the filling that I chose is crab, as I've mentioned before, and the choice is because one of the specialities at my family's restaurants was seafood. So I thought of incorporating 2 of my memories. So my grandma with the pasta and lovely fresh seafood with my parents' restaurant. So you can see how I've cut the first sheet and then we're gonna be doing all of the other ones. In Italy, in particular, seafood is quite popular. We eat all of the other meats, so chicken and beef, but I think seafood in all parts of Italy is really quite popular. We are surrounded by the sea, so it kind of does make a lot of sense, and it's lovely and refreshing and it's not too stodgy and too heavy. So we'll keep cutting all of them. You can see just normal circles. We'll move all of the other sheets over. This one is not gonna be able to make a full circle. Haven't even started counting the numbers. I probably should, so me and Alan can have the same amount of ravioli. If it's 1 extra. Maybe I'll let him have it, maybe I won't. It depends. So we'll keep cutting all of them. And all of the scraps can actually be folded later, so I'm gonna cover them in cling film in a minute so they don't dry, and then when they're lovely and rested, because we have worked the pasta quite a lot, I can just fold them over and start cutting them again. So it's a lovely thrifty recipe, fresh pasta, because you really don't throw anything away, and I guess that's the whole entire idea of like a good farmer, if you must, a recipe where you're just thrifty, you don't throw anything away, you use all of the parts of the food. Oh, 1 cut didn't go through very well, and then the last one. Lovely. So put all of the scraps in the cling film, letting it dry. And then I can use that up later, that's not a problem at all. And now we can start making the raviolis. So I'll set all of the circles so it's easier for me to pipe. I've taken the crab filling from the fridge, so it's just there on the side waiting for me. One extra, but that doesn't matter. And then with the piping bag, we'll just put a nice big dollop of filling on the middle. It doesn't matter if it's a bit wet at all. The crab was really quite chunky. Maybe I should have cut the piping bag a little bit bigger, but it doesn't really matter. There we go. And then if there's any left by the time that I get to the last one, I can always add a little bit to the first few. I think there's going to be a little bit left, so we can definitely add that to the other ones. It's quite important not to overfill the raviolis, but at the same time you don't want to be too stingy with the filling. When you will eat it, you really want a nice big mouthful of everything that you've put inside, and you want to taste all of the different flavors. I was definitely stingy with the first few. There we go. What do you think? Maybe this one? Maybe this one? Maybe this one? And then we leave that on the side. Take a little bit of water. Come back, I'm ready. Sorry, thank you. And then you put a little bit of water on one side just to help the pasta to stick, and you do that just with the first few, just because you don't want the pasta to get soggy. And then making sure you take all of the air away. You fold it in half, you pinch down the edges just like that. Really do make sure that there's no air in it, because otherwise they will explode when they hit the water. And then you take the two edges and you put them together, and you get the ravioli shape. If it needs a little bit of water to stick, you can do that. That's that. So we can keep going with all of them now. Fold it over and then fold it on the side, just like that. This one I've overfilled a little bit, but it's fine. As long as the pasta is nice and tight, it shouldn't explode in the water later. There you go, we're building a little army of ravioli. So as you can see, all of the raviolis are ready now. I've actually counted 22, so they're nice and even for both Alan and I. So that should make us lovely and happy later. So we're gonna put these on the side, and then we're gonna cut the rest of the pasta into tagliatelle, and then we can cook the sauce for the raviolis, and then it's lunchtime. So take the pasta that we rolled earlier on number 2. You always need to rest the pasta for the tagliatelle anyway, so it's always a good idea to leave it on the side whilst you do something else. It depends, the time depends on how warm the house is or how dry the house is. Just because if you use it straight away, then the pasta is going to be really quite soft and it's going to clump together, and you don't want that. So this one has been resting, and on the edges, this you can feel that it's starting to get quite dry. So it should be okay rolling it. So we are going to cut them into tagliatelle shapes. And this is what comes out of it. So as you can see, they're not clumping together, and then you just throw them on a floured tea towel just for them to set until you are ready to eat them. And then you can do the rest with all of them. Try and pick them up from the bottom, but it's not the end of the world. And again, lovely flowy tagliatelle. Leave them on the side. And then, as I said, these you can eat them straight away, or you can actually just leave them on a tea towel so they dry nicely without sticking together. And you can use them like after a week, so you can dry them and just store them away for a good week. It's always a good idea when they're cut after a couple of hours just to lift them up with your fingers and letting them fall, just to make sure that they don't clump up. But they seem quite happy, and I don't think they're gonna do it. But we'll go back to them in an hour and just do that, just to make sure. And just leave them on the side. So now all we have to do is to cook the tortellini and eat them. Usually a shape like this is a tortellini, you eat it in broth, whereas a ravioli, as I told you earlier, like the nice round shape with the 2 layers of pasta, you eat it with a sauce. But I like my tortellinis and I like them in a sauce. I'm pretty sure that Italy might revoke my citizenship for saying stuff like that, but I don't care. I eat the food that makes me happy. So we just are gonna pick them up and throw them in some boiling water. And then all we have to do is cook them until they rise, and it shouldn't really take much longer than 3-4 minutes. A recipe like this, obviously you cannot really have it every day. It does take a long time to cook, it takes a lot of patience, so it's not exactly a weekday recipe. But nice simple food like this does really make me happy. It reminds me of my childhood, it reminds me of my grandma, it reminds me of all of the time spent with my siblings at the restaurant. So it really does bring together all lovely, happy memories that I've got of my childhood. And it's lovely and delicious, and I'm pretty sure that it makes Alan happy as well. It doesn't bring as many memories for him as it does to me, but as long as his tummy is happy, then everyone is happy. So you can come and see how some of these are rising already. So we'll wait until all of them are ready, and then we're gonna throw them straight away in this pan. In here we only have just a little bit of butter, a little bit of lemon juice and some lemon zest. Really nice and simple. Again, you don't want to overwhelm the flavor of the crab with anything else. So we're gonna keep everything lovely and simple, and you can see how these are basically raised up already. So we'll wait until the last one is up, and then we're gonna throw them in. I know it doesn't look like a lot for a meal, but usually in Italy you have like a first meal and a second meal, so this is just for the first one, and then we can have something afterwards. So I'm gonna take the butter away, I'm gonna switch this off, I'm gonna throw all of the raviolis in the butter, nice and easy. If some water falls in the butter, that's not a problem at all. Get the last two, just like that, just toss them in the butter, put them on the heat just a little bit longer, just to make sure everything is lovely. give them another toss, and now they're ready to plate up. So we'll go in here. I'll need to make sure that there's 11 on each plate. This looks about right. A little bit of sauce on these ones, a little bit of sauce on these ones. Nice in the center of the plate. And there you go. Nice crab ravioli.